I'd like to entertain you for the next half an hour with some stories. As a journalist, I prefer to show, not tell. So I got a bunch of little stories here that hopefully makes my point about transformative travel. Thanks for the bio, Ricky. Yeah, no one reads newspapers anymore, do they? Otherwise I'd be famous. I publish between 50 and 100 stories a year, which adds up over the years. I've written a couple thousand stories, and I'm probably the most published travel writer in Canada and North America. But it's only in newspapers, so nobody knows who I am. They read it, they don't even read the name. But that's okay. I get to get free trips all around the world because I'm a travel writer and I know how to work the game, and I will share some of those tips with you here today. And of course that workshop that Ricky is talking about next month, we'll have more details on that coming up. Short bio, I have been traveling the world for 50 years. I started off when I was 14 hitchhiking, and the town I lived in didn't have a bus service, so I hitchhiked into Montreal. And in those days, they had this strange, curious creatures called hippies. Remember the hippies? You stuck your thumb out and they give you a ride. So I hitchhiked all over North America for years. I think I hitchhiked across Canada 27 times. Hopped freights, rode greyhounds, and that was when I was a teenager, of course, and didn't have any money and didn't know any better. I can guarantee you these days I don't sleep in culverts. I like the luxury travel a lot too. So what is transformative travel? Well, basically, I have been traveling for so long, and I've had so many experiences, at least 300 trips around the world, that after a while, you're not going to believe it, you're going to think I'm a liar, I get bored with luxury. I mean, I have been treated like a rock star for a couple of decades now. I get picked up in a limo, I have an interpreter, I have a driver, I have an unlimited credit card, I do whatever I want, all paid for by the government because they want me to promote them. So I do travel stories in the newspapers, I write books, I make documentaries, films, a wide variety of products. In this course we're talking about, I can show you how to do the same thing. All you need is a computer and a camera, and you're off to the races. Ricky will show you how to make and monetize a blog. Anyone can do this. So what I call transformative travel, you'll read about, if you ever read the newspapers, in the Sun in a couple of weeks, because I've written a story of it. And the reason you haven't heard of transformative is because I just invented the phrase. I'm hoping to publicize a new industry that most people don't even know about. Now, a lot of times if you work in the industry these days, you've heard the phrase experiential travel. So there you are in Jamaica and you're having a great time and you see a poster somewhere, oh, I can go fishing, or I can do this wonderful experience and it's only $500 and you get this wonderful memory out of it. Well, the resort ends up with all that money. They've upsold you, and the people who work there really don't get anything out of that. What I'm trying to do is go one step beyond experiential travel and teach people like yourself that there is this incredible transformative process that you can go through if you know how to do it. For instance, Sandals in Jamaica, it's not even a word on their website. They have a full team and they don't even broadcast. But they will take you to do some extraordinary projects if you ask for the team. Lindsay Isaacs is her name, and she's the Mother Teresa of Ocheritos. And she's an incredible woman who does the most amazing things. You have to ask for her. We went off to this obscure beach, and a British gentleman who is dedicated to saving the hawksbill turtle from extinction. They were down to a few hundred turtles. Now he's released over 14,000 turtles. He'll tell you everything you ever need to know about turtles. And while we were there, you'll see a photo of it, we dug a little stick in the ground, and 182 baby sea turtles came out of that hole. And we got to save all of them by putting them in the ocean. So you get to have these experiences, and I break them down into like 3 different categories that I do. I do adventure travel, luxury travel, and what used to be called humanitarian travel. But sea turtles are not human beings. So it's not humanitarian, it's not really the word. I like meaningful travel, purpose travel, because you're going out to do something more than just lie on the beach. So I'm fed up with culinary travel and meeting the chef and being treated like a rock star. I go to the resort because that's where I'm paid to stay. Then, on my time, I go across the street and I go to the ghetto and I go to the barrio and I go to the batey with plans in mind. Because I want to meet real people and do real experiences because I find them much more interesting. There are 3 basic phases of travel for everybody. There's anticipation, which a lot of people really don't know how to appreciate. If you know you're going somewhere and you're saving up for it, there are a lot of tricks that you can do to build up your sense of anticipation. You don't have to wait till you're on the plane. Then there's the actual experience, which we all do, of course, whatever that happens to be. Then the third and most important part, which a lot of people forget, is the memories. How can you go around the world without a camera? How can you do that? And you say, well, I remember that time in Singapore. No, actually, I'd forgotten. Well, if you had a video of it, maybe you would remember it. So I make videos of everything, and I share them with the resorts, and I share them with the hotels, and I make a lot of money teaching them stuff that they don't know about marketing. I give them tools, digital tools, to give to their customers. I make ebooks, 40, 50-page ebooks, and I say, give this to your guest. It's all written, it's all done by me. Take their photo, their name and everything, put it on the cover, it becomes their book, and they will send it home as a PDF while they're still there, like a postcard saying, gosh, I wish you were here. I'll only send it to people who can afford to go. I'm not going to send it to somebody that will be embarrassed. So I found like a humongous success rate doing this, and all I have to do is generate queries, they make the bookings, and I get a commission. So there's a lot of things that I do to teach these people how to use digital media, because we've all got a camera. All right, so I'm going to get started here. Let's see if this works. All right, the obligatory hero shot. Anybody recognize that one?
Black dust.
Black dust, yeah. I showed it to one guy once, and I said, I want to use it as a book. He started laughing. It was the hero shot. As I say, I do 3 different types of travel. This is Guilin, southern China, and that's my famous Marco Polo. I do one of those shots everywhere all around the world. My wife hates it. So adventure travel, you know. Here I am up the creek, Hartley Bay, just about to be attacked by a bear. You shouldn't be doing Marco Polos in bear territory. Luxury travel, that's the Dominican Republic. I've been all around the world. You know, I've seen all the fancy stuff. Dining like a king in Maharaja in India. On my throne. All right, this is the humanitarian part. If you're saving sea otters, it's not humanitarian. But there's a lot of things I do, like visiting old folks' homes. This is in Cambodia. There's no social services in that country. Most poor countries do not have it. If you don't live with your family, you're homeless. So these old ladies, she's 96, were living on the streets, and we got them into a shelter at a pagoda and brought them food and medicine. Once again, Cambodia. We'll get onto the garbage dump here in a moment. You'll notice they're not very happy because they're utterly destitute, but the lady over here is smiling because I just gave her a lot of money. I gave her like $10, which probably would feed her family for 2 weeks. Haiti, the bate, which is worse than a barrio. And I mentioned humanitarian, but I also love saving wildlife. Grizzly bears, sea otters, on my trips. That is the mythical spirit bear, the all-white bear that only lives up in northern BC. I keep on reading estimates all the time of how many there are, and people saying there's up to 2,000. I have worked with these spirit bear scientists, and there may be as few as 50 in the world. This is the rarest creature on the planet. Very, very shy animal, almost impossible to find. And you don't want to get this close to grizzlies, especially with their babies, but I get a little crazy sometimes. And when this happened, you ever see that scene in Jaws where Roy Scheider says to the captain, "You're going to need a bigger boat." That's what I said to my captain here. I said, "How much is this boat? How many tons is it?" And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because that whale lands on our boat, we're in big trouble." All right, so let's get started on instructions here. Hope people have pen and paper. There's going to be URLs and stuff for you to copy down. Oh, by the way, I forgot. I got these flyers here. If those people are, some people here are hoping that I was going to teach them a spiritual journey, I can do that as well, but that's not what I call transformative. I made up the word because I think there's an industry here that people need to know about, and all hotels are doing this, at least packed for a purpose. But before I forget, you'll find these if you want. I've got them on my desk. This is Transformative Travel of a different sort. It's a company called Sacred Earth Journeys, based right here in BC, and they will take you on some amazing trips. For instance, Greece, the heart of ancient Greece, myths, heroes, gods, and goddesses with world-famous travel storyteller Phil Cousineau. England, King Arthur's Avalon on the quest for the Holy Grail. He's an incredible storyteller, has his own TV show. And this one I'm going to attend in Greece, the Hydra Island Writers Retreat, a 7-day writing retreat. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I have a whole bunch of these flyers that you can have.
Pass them around.
All right, so what the heck is packforapurpose.org? All right, you click on that, and it takes you here. There's the website. Small space, little effort, big impact. Basically, what they're teaching you is how to be a courier. How much weight in an international flight? 60 pounds? 40 domestic? No one ever fills it up. So suppose you have 12 kilos. Put it on the bathroom scale. You've got 12 kilos to spare. You go on there and pick your destination. For instance, I pick the Caribbean because I'm going to set up this thing with Sandals Resort. When I first came across Pack for a Purpose a couple of years ago and interviewed the founder, they had about 20 resorts. I think they're over 500, maybe 1,000 now. And I said, wow, you've done a tremendous amount of work to build that up. She said, I've never made a single phone call. They all contacted me because they want to be on this website. This is a huge and growing business, meaningful travel. So you pick your destination, and on that island, there might be 4 or 5 resorts. They will pick you up at the airport, you stay with them, and then they will take you to secrets within their community that you would never know. And they all do different things, whether it's schools, and they'll teach you what to bring. Medicine, school supplies, whatever. If it's lightweight, don't bring books, they weigh a ton. But medicine, they will tell you exactly what to do, and you'll never get an invitation to go to these type of trips unless it's the local resort who sets it up for you. You would never know otherwise. All right, so I went off to Sandals. Very, very luxury all-inclusive place. I don't like all-inclusives, especially when everyone else is on honeymoon and playing kissy face all day long. But it was nice. As you can see, they treat you really, really well. They put me up because they wanted me to do the secrets that no one knows about. And I'm trying to tell them this is not charity. It's not charity. It's business. People like me will pay a lot of money to go and take one of these trips. So here she is, Mother Teresa, Lindsay Isaacs and Chris, her team. So they will take you to hidden spots like this is a primary school for little kids. Schooling is not free in Jamaica. You have to pay. You also have to buy a uniform. You go in there, the kids have no shoes, they have no food, but they're trying to learn. So I went in there with some school supplies and made a little speech. And Jamaicans, as you see, are not very shy. I have all this on video, and I've made a video of it. I got jumped on by 17 kids kissing me to death. They were so happy that I came in, and all I brought was a couple of storybooks and some magic markers. They have nothing. A little bit higher up in age, this is the computer lab. I bring computers all around the world to people. These are donated by Sandals. And I've got a great video. I asked these girls, I want you to talk to Mr. Google and find some really vitally important information. What is that, sir? I said, type it in. What's the meaning of life? And they typed it in, and within 2 minutes, they got the answer, to be happy. So on my video, I said, there, you've been wondering your whole life what the meaning of life is? Well, there it is, to be happy. And you know how you make yourself happy? By helping other people. So, what the heck is that, do you think? Did anybody see that?
Turtles.
Little baby turtles on a race. We picked them all up, washed them up, put them in a bucket, and then we tipped them over, and they raced down to the ocean, about the size of a potato chip. And this sets their GPS for the next 100 years. They'll know exactly where they're from, where they're born, and they will come back to within 6 inches of where they're born to lay their eggs. And they'll do it every 5 years for the next 100 years. That's how I forget the gentleman's name, how he's saving all the hawksbill turtles. Nobody ever goes on vacation to see someone get their teeth cleaned. However, these people here were so grateful that there was a dental clinic put on for them by 80 American volunteer doctors. Why do the doctors or the dentists go down there? Because they get a discounted rate at Sandals, and it's the highlight of the year to go and serve other people. So professionals like doctors, dentists, architects can do this type of thing if their association encourages them to do it. So while I'm in Jamaica, in Ocho Rios, North Island, decided to go into Kingston. Well, actually, that's not true. That's why I got the free trip, the press trip to Jamaica. They wanted me to build up some sort of Kingston tourism. There's nothing in Kingston. It's awful. It's a boring city. It's ugly. Has anyone been there? No. There's nothing. There's an earthquake in 1906 or something. Everything fell down. So it's really not attractive. But the most popular rock star in history happened to live and die there, and that's Bob Marley. So you can go to his house. And not only that, but you can go to the ghetto where he was brought up, Trenchtown, birthplace of reggae. Now this is one of the most savage ghettos on the planet. There's murder and gunfire and whatnot, but it's perfectly safe in the daytime. Just don't go there at night. And they're trying to build up a tourist trade, very poor people who live there. So you go into the Bob Marley, this is where he was born and brought up, and I learned an awful lot about reggae and about Bob Marley. He's not self-taught. You know, all the things that we heard about Bob Marley being a genius and everything, all the old geezers who live here taught him how to play. They took him under his wing for a decade. They wrote his songs for him. You even get to meet them if you're lucky. There's Bob's guitar, the little tiny room where he lived. And these are his mentors. This is his band from 30 years ago, and they performed for me. I got video of it. They're fantastic. So well worth the experience. No one would ever go to Trenchtown, but you know, I think the poor people there deserve a chance to make some money. Also in Kingston, not Sandals, but another hotel chain, the Court Lady, do amazing work, and they don't get any credit or publicity for it. They took me to Alpha Institute, the birthplace of reggae and ska, and it's an incredible music school, and they do other things like woodworking. And look at these guys with their white shirts and ties and pants. Aren't they dressed well? And barbering, you can always get a job barbering. And academics going to class. Now, you've only got 4 options as a white, or not a white male, but a male, black male in Jamaica. You can go to school if you're very lucky. If someone can somehow pay for it. These guys walk 10, 20 miles to get out there. They have no food. They don't have lunch. They are very well dressed, as you can see. And very polite and considerate, and so happy that people like us have sponsored them to go to school. Because their options are a gang, prison, or more than likely the morgue. They have a very high murder rate there. So I couldn't believe how happy and polite these guys were, because otherwise they'd be killing people. So I'm going to jump over to the Dominican Republic. Once again, all-inclusive. The president met us with his helicopter and champagne and lobster and all that kind of stuff. And I went across the street to Sun Camp. Now, I encourage you to do this on every trip from now on. Google Maps. Get up in the air, find your resort, zoom in, go up, come in, and walk around the neighborhood. I knew that there would be a hostel of some sort in this neighborhood. And an awful lot of Canadians go down there and they don't stay in, you know, 7-star hotels. So sure enough, there was a French-Canadian nurse there who I emailed saying, I'm coming down, you speak French. The Haitians from Haiti are in the Dominican Republic doing these awful jobs that even the Dominicans won't do. They're cutting sugar cane for 50 cents a day, okay, in the boiling heat. And they're living in tar paper shacks. They're French though, so she acted as my translator. So what I do once a year when there's a rummage sale in my neighborhood, I go down and I buy a big box full of t-shirts and hats. The key is it's got to have English on it. Fred's Electrical and Plumbing, that's one of the stories I wrote. You know, they don't read English down there, but it's the outside world. It's like Mars, it's like, you know, a different planet. They'll never get to it. But anyway, they don't weigh anything. I only had 1 day's preparation. I didn't have any money at all. I borrowed 20 bucks from my wife. I spent $6 for a cheeseburger in Chicago. Flew down there with my little overnight bag with my stuff in it. She took me to the church and the school, and I made a presentation to the children, and I held up these caps and gave everything to the teacher. Give the power to the educator. And say to the kids, stay in school, it's your only chance of escape. You learn, you can be like me. You can get out of this ghetto, you can get out of this hole, so stay in school, do your homework. The teacher will pick who gets these prizes. The kids are looking at me like I'm Santa Claus that's just fallen out of the sky. Wow, see, it cost me nothing to do this. So we went there and handed them out. This is the church. And you may notice he's got my Oakland A's baseball cap on. He's also wearing another hat, and he's got one in both hands. So I gave him 20, and now he's God, you see. He's walking around the village like, I have this stuff. So the only thing I spent on my whole trip was buying bananas for all the kids. It cost me about 50 cents. So that night at dinner, with the luxury and the champagne and all this kind of stuff, I'm looking at my LCD screen on my camera, and everyone goes, where have you been? What did you do? I said, well, you just go beyond those gates there with all the machine guns and barbed wire, and there's the real world just across the street. This is how real people live. I'm going to jump across the world now over to Nepal, one of my favorite countries. I've been there many times. Beautiful, beautiful. Here's my buddies. These are sadhus, wise men, old men that have renounced materialism in their old age, and they walk around basically saying, put some money in my tin cup. And they love having their picture taken, as you can see. This is not a tourist attraction. However, I wanted to say, the rest of the world does not resemble Canada. It's different, no matter where you go. And this is one of the most different places you can ever go. This is on the shores of the Bagmati River, the holy Bagmati in Kathmandu. This is Pashupatinath, the cremation grounds. There are cremations going on 24/7 there, right on the riverbanks, and they encourage you to come and watch and see the transformation of the soul from the material to the eternal. And they're very happy to talk to you. It's not like it's private. They're pleased that the people come and talk to them and find out about the deceased. Sechen Clinic is the only clinic, only hospital of its kind in Kathmandu. It's free to everyone, and since everyone is destitute, this is the hospital that you have to go to. French lady runs it, and I always go to hospitals and donate or bring supplies. Institution of a totally different sort. I don't recommend that anyone do this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The only types of tourism that I dislike are sex tourism and prison tourism, where people actually go to prisons in foreign countries to gawk at North Americans who have been arrested for drugs, whatever. It's disgusting. However, there's a good side to it. This is the Kathmandu men's prison, and the women's prison not far away from it. And you can see soldiers with guns, and they're not very happy with my camera. I did a project here, and I won an award for Best Short Story in America the year I wrote it. It's called "This is Not a Tourist Attraction." This is the warden. So I got a guide to take me there, introduce me to the warden. And when he found out who I was and what I wanted to do, he said, "Go away, never come back. You're a journalist. That's even worse. You know, you're a tourist. This is not a tourist attraction. Get the hell out of here." And I said, no, you don't understand. First of all, I'm a friend of Mark Gold. And you're going to meet Mark Gold in a minute. So as soon as that's my golden opportunity. That's going to get me through the door. I say I'm a friend of Mark Gold. And I said, what I want to do for you is get every woman in the prison paroled. There are 180 women in the prison, and they're all there for crimes of destitution. They're so poor that if you let them go, they would beg outside the prison gates because they can't feed themselves. They're basically there for crimes of poverty, shoplifting, whatever. A lot of them, what they call vacancy, because their husband has been beating them up for years and they run away for it. So they're safe in the prison. So they're for life, locked up for nothing. So I said, what I'm going to do, I want to make a video. I'm going to take these two little ladies that have escorted me here. We're going to go to the bazaar, the marketplace. And I am going to buy with them mascara and bits of powder and potions and everything. We're going to make beauty kits. And we're going to start a cosmetology program here in the prison and teach all these ladies how to do nails and polish and everything. Because no matter how poor people are, they still like to look good. So we set up a cosmetology program. I even had graduation certificates framed. Gave all the credit to him. He didn't do a damn thing. I did it all. I paid for everything. Okay? But the politics are, I explained to him, you go to the cabinet table and tell people that you have a pipeline into the Gold Mountain, that you have Americans that come over and give you money. They had no budget. They had zero budget for medicine. They were trucking the water. There's no running water. They were trucking the water in on gasoline trucks. So the gasoline was getting into everybody's system, and they're all dying of jaundice. So my friend Mark Gold went in there and installed the water filtration system to save the lives of all the prisoners. So that's how I got past the warden. Still in Nepal. How is our time? We got lots of time.
You got 10 minutes.
10 more minutes?
Yeah.
Still in Nepal. This is the greatest travel book ever written. The Snow Leopard Peter Matheson. It's one of the hardest treks in the world. It's 500 miles across the top of the Himalayas and into the Tibetan Plateau, the region of Upper Dolpo. Very few people in history have ever been there. It's an incredible book. He was supposedly studying sheep. I went there in the midst of the Civil War, knowing full well, 100% guaranteed, that I would be captured by Maoist terrorists. And that's the theme of the book or the novel that I made. I was indeed captured. What I was doing was going with a Tibetan Lama to go to the highest inhabited villages in the world to find and rescue abandoned children in the midst of the Civil War and carry them back to India to teach them to become nurses and save their people from extinction. So we carried these kids 500 miles over the top of the Himalayas, all these 20,000-foot passes. I'm lucky still to be here. I wouldn't recommend anyone doing this kind of stuff. It's medieval. It's maybe 1,000 years behind the times. These people have never seen outsiders before. It's almost impossible to get there and almost impossible to get back. So here's the top of a 20,000-foot pass. We just got captured right after that. But I knew I was going to be captured, so I had the money ready. And I made sure it was all in small bills, and it took them so long to count it that I took off. And here is the Magic Mountain itself, where Peter Matheson went to write his famous book. This is Shangri-La. The Lama forbid the killing of animals several hundred years ago, so they don't fear human beings. It's a magical place up on the top of the Himalayas. After doing this and somehow surviving, I said I would never do anything as insane ever again. But I realized that these people up here at the top of the roof of the world had no medicine whatsoever, nothing. They had twigs and stones and stuff. So I arranged to send medicine with Mountain Travel Sobek, the first expedition in history to Upper Dalpo after the Civil War ended. It was a $125,000 expedition. I bought all the medicine through a doctor in Kathmandu who translated everything into ancient Tibetan so that they wouldn't do something stupid with the medicine, like eat it all and die. So, this was what I call a virtual trip, because I did it all from my keyboard in my home, and I never went there. Anybody could do this if they knew how to do it. This is the guy to talk to in Nepal. He knows everybody. He set me up with everything. For instance, during the earthquake, you might have heard of the humongous earthquake that they had there. He is organizing a huge rescue effort. Mountain people in Nepal. We've only got a few minutes. Jumping over to China. I was staying in Yangshuo, beautiful little town, tourist town, and I just went online and looked at all the hotels until I found somebody who was doing something that I like. So we met this guy Jeffrey in the back, American guy who owned the hotel, and he's dedicated himself to bringing textbooks to all of the schools in the region, primary, grade school, middle school, and everything else. So he went with us and took us to all the various schools that he was going to. And then once again, they really revere education because it's not free, and it's your ticket to getting out of poverty. This boy here was the first of his village ever to graduate from high school, and we sponsored him to go to university. His father's missing an arm and couldn't work. Cambodia. There's an incredible man named Bernie Krischer who has built 600 schools in Cambodia. Every school in Cambodia has been built by Bernie Krischer. He's an American gentleman. So we were going to Cambodia to see Angkor Wat, but I made a point of tracking down Bernie and finding out all about his projects and how he builds them. On the way back from the north to the capital, Phnom Penh, on the floating coffin here, boat sank. 125 of us rich tourists on it, and it was touch and go. Basically, we staged a mutiny, threw the captain overboard. He found the hole. We bailed for 10 hours. Basically, a lake full of crocodiles. It was very, very Phnom Penh has been called shabby, but it's not. This is the Royal Palace. You can see it's quite nice. But I didn't go there for that. This is Stung Mon Che, the world's largest toxic waste site. 7,000 acres. It's on fire 24 hours a day. Life expectancy is 20 years. People are born and brought up in the garbage. They eat the garbage. If they work hard all day, every day, they'll make enough money so when the middleman comes at night with the water, they can buy water to stay alive. Okay? This is how they live. These are the rich people. They actually have a roof. And once again, I was giving money to that lady there. And this is where we rescued them. CCH, the Center for Children's Happiness, is a mile away. For $2 a day, $600 a year, you can sponsor a child for room, board, education, uniforms, and everything. So we've managed to get 400 kids so far adopted. And there's Mek Soka, the most incredible man. He is father figure to over 500 children. Soka, at the age of 10, he was rescued. He taught himself English. He taught himself computer science. He wired the entire place. We got 20 computers donated, but they're useless without internet. So I arranged for some people I know to get all the computers. And now they've all got jobs doing computer design or website design for small businesses in Cambodia. And Mek Soka, during the insane rule of the dictator Pol Pot, he lived for 5 years in the jungle eating roots and berries. And he said, if I somehow live, I'm going to do something for children when I grow up. So there are people like this all over the place. If you ask, and you know where to go. Old folks' homes. Here's the infamous Mark Gold. He has the most incredible project I've ever come across. I've checked him out so many times in Asia. Once again, Friends International. These are all street kids that have been rescued and living in the orphanage, and they're learning trades, barbering, So here's Friends International. You can go there, you can volunteer, you can see all the stuff that they do. It's really amazing. There are thousands of street kids, thanks to the war in Cambodia, that have no place to live, no parents. Aren't these kids cute? Isn't that a cute photo? Aren't they cute? I keep on saying cute. You know why? Because men my age find them cute too. And in Thailand has driven out a lot of the sex predators, and they've all gone to Cambodia. And they go after these children. So I work with Child Safe International to ride bicycles or motorbikes at night with the police hunting sex predators and trying to capture them. So there's another project that's doing incredible work, Child Safe. Here's the incredible Mark Gold, and his project is called 100 Friends Project. He's a community college professor. 25 years ago, he wrote a letter and he gave it to 100 friends. Well, he didn't have that many, so he put it on the bulletin board and handed it out to everybody until he got 100. His first project, he raised $2,000, and he said to people, I will give it out in very small sums to people I meet. I'll buy a chicken, I'll buy some eggs, I'll buy a sewing machine, whatever, but let me choose and report back to you what I've done so you can tell people. That was 25 years ago. Now he comes back to America for a couple of weeks in the summertime, and he raises about $500,000 a year. So he has given away millions of dollars, started up factories, he's done all sorts of incredible work. This guy isn't actually short, he doesn't have any legs. Afghanistan. So go to 100 Friends, compassionate, practical, and culturally compatible philanthropy. If he can do it and I can do it, anyone can do this. All you need is to learn from Ricky how to start a blog. Here's the incredible Bernie Krischer, 600 schools that he has personally built. The hospital in Phnom Penh, started the national newspaper to teach literacy, Cambodia Daily Post. I don't know how many other things he's built. So I asked him how he does it, and he's always really quite simple. Did you ever see that movie, The Godfather? I said, yeah, what's that got to do with organized crime? He goes, I don't take no for an answer. He doesn't. You give. So here's one of this is he built the Central Sihanouk Hospital in Phnom Penh. So if I ever built one school, I would think of myself as done something great. But it is really incredible what you can do when you set your mind to it. So here's his World Assistant for Cambodia. You can go on there and see all the incredible jobs that he does, mostly for kids and especially women. There's me and Mark and Bernie in San Francisco. Now this is a series I started in the Vancouver Sun not long ago. They stopped doing it because I was the only contributor. I wrote 14 in a row, and then they couldn't find anybody else who knew about all this kind of stuff. Generous Journeys about all my travel writer friends and photographers who are doing brilliant work like this all around the world. This is Innocent Eyes is David Noyes out of Buffalo. He climbs Mount Kilimanjaro every year, charges you money to go with him, and he donates all the money to African kids. How are we doing, Ricky?
About 4 minutes.
4 minutes. I can't say anything about Maureen Littlejohn, journalist from Toronto. This is in Swaziland. She told me she wanted to do something very profound before she died, so she did. She went in there and changed that country. When she arrived there, 2 out of 3 girls were raped before the age of 18. Most of the women in that country have been raped. It's not against the law. No one ever reports it or talks it. So she started working with local journalists who were after sleaze and smut and stuff like that to sell their dirty newspapers. And she was feeding them information. She finally got to the point where she got into legislation. This topic became front page news for so long. Legislation was enacted to make rape a crime. She changed that country. Whoa, what is that? Oh, the world famous photographer, #1 photographer in the world from National Geographic, just emailed her today. She's got this incredible program to save young girls. I know hundreds of these people doing this kind of stuff. It's not that hard to do. Brad Newsham in San Francisco. We're now back on this side of the water. We'll wrap up here in a minute. Backpack Nation started a global movement to teach Americans how to behave better and how to become ambassadors. So he had people sending in stories of what they'd done and people sending in money. And the people who sent in money got to choose the winner. It was a $25,000 prize, which was given to the winner. And that's his life story on Wikipedia. When I'm here in Canada, I do a lot of work in Aboriginal tourism. There's 50 different Aboriginal tourism destinations in BC. This is Bridge River. There's a pit house. This is how a lot of Aboriginals live. This is kind of standard housing for Aboriginal people in this country. When I started going to reserves, I could not believe that this was my own country. It's amazing. They have no work, they have no money, they have nothing. you know, imagine growing up in a place like this. And this is not far from here. There's places just like that, not far from here. So what I started was a project called Right to Read. These are not used modules. They're just sitting there empty. So Britco Structures donated them all to me. They're worth $40,000 a piece. And with the Lieutenant Governor of BC, who was Aboriginal, Stephen Point, and his aide-de-camp driver, Bob Blacker, we deliver libraries to the most remote and destitute communities all around BC. And we bring 6,000 books. We bring the computers. We've got them on high-speed internet. And our next job is that we've made a deal with TELUS to bring in fiber optics so we can start doing long-distance learning, teleconferencing, bring in data processing jobs, and bring some money into these communities. We are now going to have Aboriginal offenders in prison build our libraries because we've run out of free ones. So the Indians will be cutting the trees down, we'll be taking them to prison, we'll be making them there, shipping them, and then building these in the summertime. And finally, my last slide, to say nothing is impossible. This is a newspaper that I created myself personally back in the 1990s. It's called Spare Change. And I had over 100 homeless people panhandling on the streets of Vancouver that I hired to be newsies and sell their own life stories of how they were in prison and drug addicted and everything else. And 75 issues, we sold out every issue within 2 days. That's 750,000 copies, $1.5 million into the pockets of the most homeless people here in Vancouver. So as you can see, what I do basically is media. That's my skill, whether it's paper, print, whatever. All I do is say, well, you got a computer here, and on the other end is Nepal. We just want to shrink the distance by connecting each other by building a block and saying to the viewers, you too can do this. So Ricky and I are going to be teaching this course with a more commercial name, how to travel the world, so you too can learn some of this humanitarian stuff along with all the other stuff that I'm going to teach. Some travel writing, some photography and video. You know, it takes months and months to learn how to travel right, but I can show you all the basics of getting started. I do a lot of media consultation with resorts and hotels. And these are the other jobs available in the travel industry. If you're not a photographer or writer, there are thousands of ways to do this, and I can introduce you to them all. It's a one-day course, and I'm going to let Ricky explain what he is going to teach at that course, the most important part, the practical part. Thank you very much for your being here tonight.